Epic Games Store finally coming to Google Play Store after court ruling. Hold on to your hats, because a huge shift is about to rock the mobile app world. Epic Games Store is set to officially launch on the Google Play Store, all thanks to a dramatic courtroom showdown that's making headlines and turning heads. If you thought the battle between Epic Games and Google was over, think again, because this lawsuit could fundamentally change how app stores operate on Android devices. Let's rewind. The fight began when Epic Games challenged Google in court, claiming the tech giant held an unfair monopoly over Android's app distribution and billing systems through the Play Store. The case peeled back the curtain on Google's business agreements, revealing a web of anti-competitive deals that, according to the jury's 2023 ruling, crossed the legal line. But here's where it gets controversial. Even after the dramatic verdict found Google's dominance illegal, Google was quick to appeal, doubling down on its position in hopes of getting a higher court to reverse the outcome. That hope, however, has just been dashed. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decided not to overturn the initial ruling, with Judge M. Margaret McCune emphasizing that proper legal procedures had been followed and the decision fit well within established antitrust law. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney wasted no time celebrating what he called a total victory, announcing that the Epic Games Store will finally be accessible through the Play Store, eliminating the awkward need for users to sideload it. For years, Android gamers had to jump through hoops to install Epic Store. Now, those days could soon be over, and this is the part most people miss. There's still a sliver of uncertainty. Although Sweeney is confident Epic can now launch its store on Google Play, it's not yet 100% clear if Google has any power left to delay or block this move while preparing yet another appeal. This time to the highest court in the nation, the U.S. Supreme Court. Talk about not going quietly. But the story has another layer. Google's stance is anything but surrender. The company argues that this verdict poses real risks, insisting it will, in their words, significantly harm user safety, limit choice, and undermine the innovation that Android is known for. In other words, Google believes opening its gates further could open the door to threats and chaos on its platform. Here's a bombshell that fuels the debate. According to the court's decision, Google's own expert admitted that Google already manages the challenges of third-party apps in the Play Store. The judge's logic? If other third-party software can exist safely on Play, there's no valid reason Epic Store should be treated differently. Now, let's spark some discussion. Does this ruling really help consumers, or does it risk the safety and performance of the Play Store ecosystem? Is it fair for a platform owner to set strict rules, or should every developer have equal access, no matter what? If you've got strong opinions, and let's face it, who doesn't about App Store policies? Let's hear them. Does this open Android to new creative opportunities or dangerous loopholes? One thing's for sure. This ongoing legal battle is far from over, and what happens next could set the stage for how mobile app marketplaces operate not just on Android, but across the industry. What do you think? Bold progress or a risky roll of the dice? Join the conversation below and tell us where you stand. Epic Games triumphs again. What Google's antitrust loss means for Android app stores. In a groundbreaking turn of events, Epic Games has emerged victorious once again in its legal battle against Google, a decision that could potentially reshape the Android landscape forever. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has upheld the unanimous jury verdict from 2023, which declared Google's App Store and payment systems as illegal monopolies. This ruling not only confirms Epic's win, but also paves the way for a previously stalled permanent injunction to take effect, compelling Google to open up Android to third-party app stores, effectively dismantling its monopolistic hold. Epic CEO Tim Sweeney celebrated the win on Twitter, exclaiming, "Total victory in the Epic v. Google appeal." The court's decision was announced by a 3-judge panel, which affirmed the lower court's ruling in Epic v. Google. Google, however, is not taking this lying down and has confirmed its intention to appeal the decision, potentially taking the case to the Supreme Court. Judge M. Margaret McEwen, in her opinion for the panel, compared the high-stakes legal battle to the adrenaline-pumping survival scenarios of Fortnite, stating that the outcome of this case is determined by established legal principles rather than the game's fiery conclusions. Judge James Donato's permanent injunction, which was partially paused last October while Google appealed, may now be enforced, requiring Google to allow third-party app stores on Android. Epic has already announced plans to launch its own app store within Google's ecosystem, a move that could significantly alter the competitive landscape. Epic spokesperson Kat McCormack confirmed to The Verge that the stay is lifted, signaling the imminent implementation of the injunction. The full impact of the permanent injunction extends far beyond Epic's own store and Fortnite. It mandates that Google open its app store to competition for 3 years, distribute rival app stores, provide access to its full app catalog, and cease various anti-competitive practices, including the exclusive use of Google Play billing. Google's global head of regulatory affairs, Lee Ann Mulholland, expressed concern over the decision, stating that it will significantly harm user safety, limit choice, and undermine the innovation that has always been central to the Android ecosystem. Epic's legal journey against Google and Apple began in 2020, when Fortnite was removed from both app stores. While the case against Apple largely resulted in a loss for Epic, the battle against Google took a different turn. The trial revealed secret revenue-sharing deals between Google, smartphone manufacturers, and game developers, as well as internal emails that suggested Google's fear of Epic's influence on other game developers to create or join rival app stores. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals dismissed the notion that the outcome of the Apple case should influence the Google case, particularly regarding the critical question of market definition. Judge McEwen highlighted the differences between Apple's walled garden approach and Google's open distribution model, emphasizing that the two companies operate in distinct commercial realities. In a creative analogy, Judge McEwen compared McDonald's and Chick-fil-A to illustrate that markets can overlap without direct competition in every segment. This distinction is crucial in understanding why Google and Apple can compete in some areas, but not in the Android-only app distribution and in-app billing markets, where the jury found Google's monopolistic practices to be illegal. This legal saga not only highlights the complexities of antitrust law, but also underscores the evolving landscape of mobile app distribution and the power dynamics within the tech industry. Google's antitrust loss, major changes coming to the Play Store. In a landmark decision that could reshape the digital marketplace, Google has been dealt a significant blow in its long-standing legal battle over the Android app ecosystem. The tech giant has lost an appeal in an antitrust case, setting the stage for sweeping changes to how apps are distributed and monetized on its platform. This ruling doesn't just affect Google. It could redefine the way developers and consumers interact with mobile apps. But here's where it gets controversial. While some see this as a victory for competition, others fear it may come at the cost of user safety and innovation. The origins of this legal saga trace back to frustrations voiced by Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite. Epic grew weary of surrendering 30% of its revenue to App Store gatekeepers like Google and Apple. This dissatisfaction culminated in lawsuits against both companies, alleging anti-competitive practices that stifle developers' freedom and inflate costs for users. In this latest development, Judge Margaret McEwen upheld the jury's earlier verdict, dismissing Google's arguments. Her written opinion emphasized that Google's actions, such as leveraging anti-competitive tactics to solidify its dominance, created barriers that unfairly favored the Play Store through network effects. The evidence overwhelmingly supports these remedies, she stated, reinforcing the need for structural reforms within the Android ecosystem. This marks what could be the beginning of a new era for app distribution. With fewer options left to delay these mandated changes, Google is now contemplating whether to take its fight to the U.S. Supreme Court. However, there's no assurance that the highest court in the land will agree to hear the case or side with Google if it does. For now, the company finds itself under mounting pressure to comply with the court's directives, which promise to disrupt the status quo significantly. Leanne Mulholland, Google's Vice President of Regulatory Affairs, expressed concern about the implications of the ruling. This decision poses serious risks to user safety, limits consumer choice, and threatens the innovative spirit that has powered the Android ecosystem, she warned. Despite these claims, Google insists its primary focus remains safeguarding users and developers alike. Yet critics argue that such statements mask resistance to necessary change, raising questions about who truly benefits from the current system. One of the most impactful aspects of the ruling involves dismantling key components of Google's control over app monetization. Specifically, Google can no longer force developers to rely exclusively on its billing system for in-app purchases. This opens the door for third-party payment solutions, potentially allowing developers to retain more of their earnings. Additionally, Google must cease offering exclusive incentives to developers who launch content solely on its platform, a practice critics say stifled competition for years. Another game-changing requirement forces Google to rethink how users discover Android apps. Under the new rules, the company must permit other app stores to distribute the full catalog of Google Play apps. Developers, however, retain the right to opt out if they prefer not to participate in broader distribution channels. Perhaps the most striking shift? Google must allow rival app stores to operate directly within the Google practice. This move strikes at the heart of the company's tightly controlled ecosystem, marking a potential turning point for independent app distributors. Tim Sweeney, CEO of Epic Games, hailed the ruling as a triumph for developers and consumers alike. In a celebratory tweet, he announced plans to bring the Epic Games Store to Google Play soon. This is a win for everyone who believes in open platforms and fair competition, Sweeney wrote, signaling his intent to capitalize on the newly leveled playing field. And this is the part most people miss. Beyond the technicalities of the ruling lies a deeper debate about the future of digital ecosystems. Should dominant players like Google have the unrestricted ability to shape markets, or do regulators have a duty to intervene when monopolistic behaviors emerge? As the dust settles, one thing is clear: this decision won't end the conversation, it will amplify it. So what do you think? Is this ruling a step forward for fairness and innovation? Or does it risk undermining the very foundations of trust and security in app ecosystems? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear where you stand.